This is Emmanuel Wilkins, and you're watching First Look.
Hello, I'm Don Was, president of Blue Note Records, and our guest today is Emmanuel Wilkins, one of the foremost artists of his generation, or any generation for that matter. He's a great saxophonist, composer, band leader, and educator, originally from the Philadelphia area. Last year, he released a stunning debut album, recorded when he was still a teenager and produced by Jason Moran. And the New York Times named it the number one jazz album of 2020, which is something I have never seen in my decade at Blue Note Records. It's an incredible accomplishment. Now he's recorded a follow-up album, The Seventh Hand, and man, it's a mind-blowing album. It raises the bar you set with Omega, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Thank
Emmanuel,
you.
thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, Don. It's an honor, for real.
Man, I was deeply moved by these tracks when I first sat down and listened to the album as a whole. And at that time, I was unaware of the deep conceptual spine upon which it's constructed. It's not essential to understand your design in order to appreciate the music, but it's really cool when you learn more about it.
Thank you.
For example, you told me that the album title is based around biblical symbolism, that six represents the number of human perfection. So what happens when we go to seven? Let's talk about some of the deeper underpinnings of what's going on in this music.
Yeah, like you said, it's a lot of it has to do with like that kind of inherent meaning of six in a lot of those texts where that's kind of the extent of human possibility, and then seven kind of symbolizes the number of any sort of divine intervention. And so I kind of wanted to write a suite of seven pieces that work towards like complete vesselhood. So by the seventh movement, we're just, the idea is that we're vessels for the creator by then. And each movement kind of chips away at it. It's basically six kind of fully involved and kind of fully composed written pieces. And then the sixth movement is only one written note. And then we pretty much improvise. And the track ended up being close to 30 minutes, which we didn't we didn't plan on. We didn't plan on it, but things just kind of, the ball kept rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about vesselhood in advance, is the preparation different?
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I think, well, it's interesting. I have a kind of a pre-record ritual that I do with every album where or at least of my own. And I mean, I've only released one, so there's that. But it's something that I've kind of worked out where I fast. I do like a pretty serious fast for a month right before recording. And it kind of just has to deal with just kind of preparing me for to be in that mental space.
The album opens with two tracks. Put together, they become woven together as one piece, though. And I want to talk about both of them, but let's start with Emanation. I'm going to confess, I tried to play bass along with your recording, and I desperately need some direction. What's going on there?
Man, okay. Emanation is basically about I was thinking about things that kind of emanate from a source, or filmmaker Arthur Jafa uses like the imagery of solar flares as emanations. And so thinking about just, kind of solar flares or certain emanations from a source, I thought was interesting. And thinking about the power of gathering and how, like, I wonder if like gathering together could actually generate another element. So maybe it's just about bodies in the space that could generate some other spirit, right? And then musically, the tunes a little complex. It deals with a lot of odd time signatures. But one thing that I think we were intentional about when playing the piece was trying to swing through the whole thing. And for the solo sections, it's basically all swinging. And I think that was really my biggest thing with what I had heard from my band and heard just in music prior was I didn't feel like we had gotten to a level where we could play these complex time signatures and still swing through it and walk in bass, and do everything that
Mhm.
has been a part of the tradition for years, with this new added complexity, to the music. And so that was kind of something that we've been intentional about with playing it, is making sure we can really swing through everything and walk through everything.
Yeah, well, you did, man. Let's play it. Emanation. All right, that's Emanation from Emmanuel Wilkins' new album, The Seventh Hand. Now, the second element in that piece is called Don't Break, and it features an appearance from the Farafina Khan percussion ensemble that Kwaku performs with. Last night, I watched this documentary about the Muhammad Ali George Foreman fight in Zaire. Have you seen it? It's called When We Were Kings, right?
Okay.
And big musical component going on. And Ali talks about using the African drums to summon up spirits that would, in his case, inhabit the spirit of George Foreman and help Ali win the fight.
Yeah.
But it was real deep, man. Tell us about Don't Break.
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on though. I think that's a commonality between all of African diasporic spiritual practices has been the spirit possession through the drums, via the drums and via the dance, right? So if we're talking about like West African drum practice, you have the drums who play and they basically put the dancer into a trance, and then the drums call down the deity, and the dancer becomes possessed by that deity, right? And it's the same in the Black church, with shouting, right? And how the dancers become spirit possessed in that way. So it's always via the drums in relation to dance, and how that is kind of a direct channel for vesselhood in a way. And so a lot of, well, I guess the title kind of came from me talking with Kwaku about even the way he was playing through the piece, and he was like, man, it's basically a dance, and the key is to not break the form. You can't break the formation. Don't break the formation, or else you don't ascend to that next spiritual layer, basically.
Wow. All right, well, let's play a little bit of that. Don't Break. That's Don't Break from Emmanuel Wilkins' brand new album. Now, the exquisite composition, Fugitive Ritual Selah, man, it's a hymn to Black spaces. And I wish you'd tell us more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about just the idea of like escape, and how the Black church specifically serves as a real place where people are able to maybe escape the gaze and let their guards down, and how that kind of gives birth to some like really amazing spiritual revelations. It gives space to just like special things that happen. I don't know, speaking in tongues, any of these things that are in ways indescribable, and also like completely hilarious content, right? Like if you look on social media, Instagram, Twitter, there's all these videos of like folk acting a fool in church, and I think that that's also equally as beautiful in the way of that, like this is a space that is completely has escaped surveillance, has escaped the gaze, and it's a way for us to like, I don't know, find some sort of sublime or freedom in that, And that's kind of where the word Selah comes in. Is Selah kind of means a pause, a brief pause. One thing, I guess one definition is a brief pause for the Holy Spirit. So it was used like in poetry. They would just put Selah at the end of the phrase as an instruction. And so I thought that was interesting. It's basically, I tried to write a fugitive ritual, something that, church is every Sunday. So you kind of attend the church every Sunday, and it's a way to pause for the Holy Spirit and give birth to amazing things in that space.
That's beautiful, man. Let's play some of it. That's Emmanuel Wilkins from his brand new album, The Seventh Hand. Man, you made a radiant and divinely inspired album, man. It's really something. Congratulations. And,
Thank you.
And thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thanks. My pleasure, for real. Thank you.
It's good to see you. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on First Look. If you enjoyed First Look and would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button and also click the bell icon. That way, you'll be notified when we post our next video.